Hi students, this is the first of your mini lecture videos that you need to watch for microbiology in spring 2017. And this one is going to be about how do infections get established in the human body. So this one's about establishing infections. And this topic goes a long way toward answering why is it that some microbes will end up colonizing us and not causing harm, while others may invade us and actually cause harm. And then why do some microbes, let's say, never colonize us in the first place? So we come into contact with a lot of different microbes. What makes the difference between the non-colonizers, the colonizers that don't do harm and become sometimes flora, and the ones that actually colonize, infect, invade, and harm people? And which of those groups they fall into depends on how far they make it down the infection process. So the next slide that I'm going to show, this is listing the requirements or the progression of getting an infection to get started in the human body. And you will need to memorize these stages as in their order, and that will be one of the memory work things for our final exam. So the first step is that you have to be exposed to the microbe, which may be a pathogen. And some other books will call this, you contact it. It gets on you, it gets in you. You have to come in contact with it. And normally this step will also be aligned with what we call the portal of entry for that microbe. So some microbes can enter directly through skin. That's actually not that common, but that can happen. Some microbes will enter through the urogenital tract. Some will enter through the respiratory system. But each particular microbe has a particular way that it would get into the body once you come into contact with it. The second requirement to establish a colonization or an infection is the microbe has to adhere to some part of your body. So it's not that it just gets on you and that's it. It has to actually adhere and stick or stay. And some other books will call this step attachment. So just because you touch it or come in contact with it does not mean that it's going to stay in your body. It has to get attached. And this step requires that the microbe not get flushed away. And depending on what portal of entry it came through, it has to avoid getting flushed away by some mechanism, and I'll talk about that in another slide. So you contact it, it gets attached or adhered, and then at that point it needs to actually invade into tissues. And this one often requires avoiding immune mechanisms. So if you're just going to get into body tissues, it also has to also avoid immune action of your body. So up until this point, we could be talking about a colonizer, a non-harmful colonizer, or we could be talking about something that's actually going to become dangerous. These two steps right here would be accomplished by the microbes that are dangerous, not so much by the ones that are just colonizers. So colonization, growth, and production of virulence factors. This step, the virulence factors, those will be in the microbes that we call pathogens. So if they have virulence factors, that allows them to become pathogens, and I'll be talking about that actually in lecture tomorrow. Sometimes those will help colonization and growth. Some microbes can colonize and grow but not make virulence factors and not cause harm. at that particular step. So the virulence factors themselves can aid toxicity. I'll talk about that in a minute. The virulence factors can help the pathogen grow further and go further in the body and cause more damage until we come to the step of causing damage to the host. So we have colonization, invasion, virulence factors here. And this step, some books will put these together as just calling it damage to the host. The last thing I want to put on here is, okay, we've got damage to the host. And also at this point, often the pathogen or the colonizer that's not harmful will actually exit the person, and they will leave the person's body via what's called a portal of exit. So the portal of entry is, how does the pathogen get in? The portal of exit, how does it get out? Those often are not the same place. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. So this particular slide, the list of the orders of the steps, that's one that you will need to sort of memorize. What are the major things that has to happen for a microbe to get into the body, stay there, enter deeper tissues, colonize and grow. And at this point, some will branch off and just become colonizers, not harmful, but if they make virulence factors, they will enter this path and then cause disease and damage to the hosts, or in this case, we are the people, we are the hosts. The major portals of entry are listed here. Again, each pathogen will have a specific way it gets into the body. Skin is more likely to be a portal if it is broken or damaged in some way. Good, smooth, intact skin is actually a really good barrier, which is why usually it's fine to just go ahead and sit down on the toilet seat. That's one of my pet peeves. Skin is a good barrier. It can be a portal if it's broken or damaged. The other portals of entry are basically entrances into body cavities. So you can have pathogens enter through the conjunctiva of the eye. You can breathe them in through nose or mouth. You can ingest them through eating things or licking stuff. And then you have urogenital tract as well as a portal of entry. Some of the ways, once microbes do get into the body, whether they're going to be flora or not, they need to stay there and stick there and be attached or be adhered. And some of the ways that they do that we've talked about before in this class, like they might use fimbriae, those short proteinaceous attachments to stick onto human cells. They might use capsules, which we talked about multiple times in class, having that sticky polysaccharide layer to stick onto host tissues. And we've also talked about for viruses, their attachment mechanism are their spikes, and that the spike has to be very specific for the host cell. So all of those are examples of how do pathogens adhere to specific body tissues. And this slide is showing portals of exit. You might have noticed I skipped over, at this point, evading the immune system, invading tissues, evading or escaping the immune system, invading tissues, producing toxins and causing damage. I've skipped over to portal of entry, but mostly for speed issues. So how do different microbes get out of the host? From skin to skin. Again, broken skin is an easier portal to get through than intact skin. Coughing and sneezing are a big one. We should add on here vomiting is definitely a way for microbes to get out of the body and then possibly be transmitted to someone else. Urine, feces, blood, insects as well can transmit disease from one person to the other. That's sort of indirectly through their blood as well. So each individual pathogen has a particular way that it gets in, it has a particular way that it gets out and gets into its next host. Sometimes those will be the same, sometimes it will enter one way and leave another. That's different for different diseases.